Oh yeah. When did you discover? Oh, you said your mother taught. It helped you understand what music was about. That's where you learned music from. Is from your mom.
It's
I don't know
crazy.
why when I thought of your mom when you said that, I just said what you said she sang. The
Yeah.
person that went to my head was Mahalia Jackson. That was the first
Oh
person
my
I thought of.
gosh. Listen, man. That's what I grew up on. My mom was like the Jamaican prototype Mahalia Jackson. It's like that's what she wanted to be like her. Like
Mm.
she loved Mahalia. We had Mahalia records in the house, and then once CDs were invented, oh my gosh, that's so weird to say.
Yeah.
I lived in a world where no CDs were, and then all of a sudden they were there, and now we don't use them anymore. But CDs, when they came out, the first CD my dad ever bought was a Mahalia Jackson CD, and I remember it because I put it inside the CD player upside down because I thought it was worked like a record where the needle come down on top. Yeah, but the story of my mom and music is a very interesting one. My dad was a traveling evangelist. He would travel, drive hours to go places and preach. And he had my mom was like the arm candy. She'd come up and she'd sing and get the crowd warmed up for him to come in there and get to getting loud. But one of the things she told me, she said she loved music so much and she always wanted me to be some sort of connection with music. So while I was yet in the womb, she would get a guitar. She did not know how to play, but she'd strum it on her womb. As all throughout the development of me before I got to breathe this air. She strummed the guitar and I have been, gosh, in kindergarten, I can tell I could differentiate with tones. I could harmonize at the age of like 4. I had a very deep understanding of music from a young age. And my dad would do stuff like, even though he's a tough guy, but he did some cool stuff. Like he found an old keyboard. It wasn't even a real keyboard. It was kind of like a harmonica that you could plug in. Like you plug this thing in and it blew a fan and it sounded like one of those accordions. But it had legs on it. And so you screw the legs into it and you can play it. And when you plugged it in, the fan would start and it sounded exactly like an accordion. Just like an accordion. It even had the little, you know how the accordion has those little black dots and stuff that you play? It had a little bit of those on the keyboard itself that played like harmonies and stuff. And so I started out with that. That was like one of my first instruments. That and a plastic guitar my dad bought me. And it went from there. I always had a love. That's my wife. She says, he can play anything. I learned my first song that I ever learned how to do was Mary Had a Little Lamb. And a babysitter taught me that at the age of, I think, 3 or 4 years old. Wow. And ever since I learned how to do that, I could play Mary Had a Little Lamb on anything. I could play it with an engine. I could play it on the touch-tone phone. I could kick a paint can down the stairs and play Mary Had. I can play Mary Had a Little Lamb on anything. Like if I never played an instrument before and you gave it to me in an hour, I'd know how to play Mary Had a Little Lamb on it.
Let's see how that, you should do some video on that one. Being able to show some music like anything.
It's crazy. Like my nephew, he had this big euphonium, like it's like a trombone kind of instrument. Never touched one before. He hands it to me, and I'm like, "How do you make this thing make noise?" And he was like, "You got to do this thing with your lips." And I'm like, "Okay." So I did, and it made noise. I'm like, "What do these things do?" And I started squeezing them, and I started noticing the tone was changing. The tone was changing with how I moved my lips. Mary Had a Little Lamb came out.
Wow. I love to see that, bro. That's amazing. I mean, it's wonderful to see people, step into their gifts and actually, it's an amazing thing, man. And I appreciate you giving me that moment of just even think about, even our people who are going to be watching too, to think about stepping into your brilliance, into your greatness. Sometimes we don't think that it means anything, that it's nothing, that it's just some weird thing that I do. It's your gift. And if you share your gift, others will be more willing to step into their own. Some people may think, it's just a weird thing. It's like, no, it's an amazing thing that can actually take your life to another level, in which we've witnessed your life change dramatically in over a short amount of time. I don't know how long you've been doing TikTok.
Shoot, is it 2 years, honey? How long have I been on TikTok? 2, 3 years?
It'll be 3 years September.
September makes it 3 years.
Yeah, 3 years to be able to change your life around when you could have been working 20 years prior to and got nowhere. Just getting very little money. Yeah, nowhere at all. And stepping into your gift allowed you to be able to to share it with the world and change your life in the process.
You just watched TikTok Famous, a Brilliant Entertainment Studios production.